company called Meter out of San Francisco. They're trying to replace network engineers. But
Don't know it now.
so he was telling me about how in densely populated areas, Starlink works differently than it might be in a place with not as many people. Can you explain how it works?
Yeah, so Starlink, there's several thousand satellites in low Earth orbit, and they're moving around 25 times the speed of sound in these, they're zipping around the Earth, basically. And they're at an altitude of about 550 kilometers, which is called generally low Earth orbit. Because they're at low Earth orbit, the latency is low, like the distance, because the distance is not that far compared to a geostationary satellite, 36,000 kilometers. So you've got thousands of satellites providing low latency, high-speed internet throughout the world, and they are interconnected as well. So there are laser links between the satellites, so it forms sort of a laser mesh, so that if let's say if cables are damaged or cut, like fiber cables, the satellites can communicate between each other and provide connectivity even if the cables are cut. So, for example, when the Red Sea cables were cut, I think a few months ago, the Starlink satellite network continued to function without a hitch. So it's particularly helpful for disaster areas. So if an area has been hit with some kind of natural disaster, floods or fires or earthquakes, that tends to damage the ground infrastructure, but the Starlink satellites still work. So, and generally whenever there's some sort of natural disaster somewhere, we always provide people with free Starlink internet connectivity. We don't want to charge, we don't take advantage of a tragic situation. So, if there's natural disasters, we're like, okay, it's free during the natural disaster. We don't want to say like, put a paywall up while somebody's trying to get help. That would be wrong. So it's a very robust system. It's complementary to ground systems because the satellite beams work best in sparsely populated areas, but because you've got a satellite beam, it's a pretty big beam, so you have a fixed number of users per beam. So it tends to be very complementary to the ground-based cellular systems because those are very good in cities because you've got these cell towers that are only a kilometer apart type of thing, but cell towers tend to be inefficient in the countryside. So in rural areas is where you tend to have the worst internet because it's very very expensive, difficult to do all the fiber optic cables, or to have high bandwidth cellular towers. So Starlink is very complementary to the existing telecom companies. It basically tends to serve the least served, which I think is good.
Will that change tomorrow? Like today, as you explained, the beam is quite broad and it can't work in a densely populated area with high buildings maybe. But can that change and tomorrow it becomes really efficient in a densely populated city where it is competitive with the local network providers?
It's unfortunately, the physics don't allow for that. So we're too far away. So at 550 kilometers, and even if we try to reduce it, which about as low as we can go is about 350 kilometers, still very far away. You can think of like a flashlight, which is, that flashlight's got a cone, and that cone is coming at, today 550 kilometers. In the future, we're trying to get down to 350 kilometers, but we can't beat something that's 1 kilometer away, which the cell tower, physics is not on our side here.
Right.
So it's not physically possible for Starlink to serve densely populated cities. Like you can serve a little bit, maybe 1% of the population. And sometimes people get, even in crowded cities, there might be, no fiber link up their road. Like sometimes somebody's on a cul-de-sac or something, or in a a place in cities. There's sometimes underserved areas for random reasons, and so Starlink can serve, like I said, maybe 1% or 2% of a densely populated city, but it can be much more effective in, like I said, in rural areas where the internet connection is much worse, and often people either have sometimes no access to internet, or it's extremely expensive, or the quality is not very good. So,
if I were to ask you to wager a guess, Elon, do you think India will go down the path of urbanization like China did, with more people moving in from rural economies to urban centers? Or do you think we'll
well,
beat the
I
trend?
suppose some amount of that has happened, right? I mean, I'm curious to sort of ask you some questions as well. It's because, of course, isn't that the trend, or is it not the trend in India?
It is the trend largely.
Okay.
I think a little bit changed during COVID when a lot of urbanization slowed down, and that was not organic. It was very artificially